For example, I'm going to skip that. Al-Khwarizmi, who is number one Arab, scientist, natural philosopher. There is nobody bigger than that, and I will prove it my point in a second. He wrote only 3 books. Look at the second book. The last word is Al-Hindi. Again, they were using the term Hind, Hindu, Hindi. All meant the same thing. The third book, Al-Sindh Hind. That Hind is again basically showing that the knowledge is coming from the Hindus. Now the first book, do you see any connection? I want you to read it in Arabic. Do you see something here? No, Al-Jabr. That became Algebra and made your life miserable all these years. The word algebra has come from the book of Al-Khwarizmi because he was the teacher. In his book became a standard in Europe. So algebra is an Arabic word that you can check it in a dictionary. Again, you take so many courses in algebra and you are never told. So your algebra education is incomplete too. That's the truth. There were big fights in the Middle East that, should we be a patriot and just use their Arabic system, or should we, borrow this foreign system of the Hindus? Okay. So he talks about it, Severus Sivak, and he says that, listen, Hindus are more ingenious than those of the Greeks and Babylonians. This is people in the Middle East who are saying it. I'm going to talk about Ibn Laban for a second. He wrote a book, and the last word in that is Al-Hind, and he is writing, in the name of Allah, the merciful and compassionate. This book on the principle of Hindu arithmetic is an arrangement of, then he writes his name, may God have mercy on him. A Muslim asking his God to have mercy on him to write a book on Hindu arithmetic. That's the spirit of multiculturalism. I wish if we can share that to the rest of the world. By the way, this is not the only book. There are similar books, and I'm going to by the way, let me just share this. This is coming from Aryabhata. As a man in a boat going forward sees the stationary object moving backward. So, in Sri Lanka, we see stationary stars moving backward. Clearly explaining even the reason why we see motion in the sun. And we teach a whole course on astronomy, we never share this. By the way, I have been told 5 minutes, so I'll stay at 5 minutes for the next half an hour. Iron pillar, no rusting, that's a superb achievement. Now, how good we were when Alexander the Great captured India. He captured Porus, the Indian king, and then released him. Porus was so thankful to Alexander the Great that he decided to give him something that Alexander cannot have, and that was 6,000 pounds of steel, because Indian steel was the very best in the world. Greeks did not have that. Plastic surgery, By the way, we knew it in the BC period. Europe learned it in 1794 in the Gentleman magazine. That was the very first account of plastic surgery. So we were thousands of years ahead of them. You have taken, so many courses. People who have some medicine background, I would be interested in if they are learning it. I have to talk a little bit about yoga. We have the very best expert, international expert, Mishraji, sitting right here. Is the best system of personal development. And I'm going to skip most of it and come to Robert Oppenheimer, who was the father of atom bomb. He not only studied Hinduism, he learned the Sanskrit language. This is a letter where he's writing to his brother that my supervisor, which is Lawrence, is not here these days, so I'm reading Bhagavad Gita. When he was the director of the Manhattan Project and President Roosevelt died, in the obituary, he talked about Bhagavad Gita. And throughout in his life, if you read the work of Oppenheimer, he mentioned about the Hindu scriptures a lot. And same thing is with Schrödinger, the architect of quantum mechanics. He is openly writing about Vedanta. Remember, when people are writing about it on a piece of paper, they are basically exposing themselves. And these people who were Nobel laureates did not feel a hitch about it. They talked about it, and they talked about Hindu philosophy. And it's not just an isolated statement. He wrote many places in his book, but I know my time is very limited, so I'm going to talk about Emerson. Again, Emerson and Thoreau, they both studied Hindu philosophy and wrote about Hindu philosophy, were very open about it. And like, for example, Emerson is writing, I think Hindu books are the best gymnastics for the mind. This is the very best American philosopher. Now, I do not know, I forgot to ask how many philosophy people are here, so that I can ask if they teach about it. I do not know. By the way, he not only studied Bhagavad Gita, he studied the whole Hindu philosophy. And the same thing about Henry David Thoreau. And he's saying, whenever I have read any part of the Vedas, I have felt that some unearthly and unknown light illuminated me. How explicit do you want their opinion, They are writing it in their own books. Again, another statement from Thoreau, and I know my time is almost up, and if I don't stop it, Nikunji is going to push me away. So I think I want you to understand that science does not belong to one culture or one gender. It belongs to all who wants to unfold the mystery of nature. And it's not because it's a political agenda, but it's the true nature of science. And we are missing the boat, because I think teaching science can be an excellent humanizing experience, which at this stage we are not doing that. Thus, thank you for your patient listening. I'll stop it at this point. If you have any question, I would be happy to answer, but those questions should not be as difficult as Nikunji asked, They have to be simple questions. That's it.
Thank you, Alok. This was great. I know we can go on and on for hours because there's so much information that you have researched. So we'll open it up for some questions. Anybody have any questions? Arnav.
So, if someone says these are Indian discoveries, not Hindu discoveries, how would what would your rebuttal be to that?
So if someone says these are Indian discoveries and not quote unquote Hindu discoveries, what is your answer for that?
Yeah. See the original document. Everywhere they are saying it is Hindu. So either trust your document or dump history as a discipline. As simple as that.
Great, awesome.
India is a word that was, coined by a, colonial power, and that's how they assigned us, and it's a name, that they used. By the way, I can go on and on because I know my time is up. So my short answer is that, this is what history books are saying. So either accept history or dump it. And they don't want to dump it.
Anybody else?
By the way, science is a great tranquilizer, so I know you must be a little bit tranquilized.
So I have a question for you. Many times we talk about this whole religion versus science debate. And when we use the word Hindu, many times people just say, oh, we don't want to talk about religious stuff. This has nothing to do with religion, it is pure science. But as you said here, they were using the word Hindu, Hind, Al-Hind, Sindh-Hind, all these different words. And there was no qualm about, some religious people and this and that. So can you maybe share your thoughts? Like, what do you think about this whole religion versus science?
This is a artificially created problem. And it's a very recent phenomenon. Even in Christianity, they were not talking about it. Even in Islam, they were not talking about it. It's a recent thing because, they were ridiculed because of their certain actions. Best thing is separate it. And so they have created this. Now, if you study the life of Newton, life of all these great scientists, they were highly religious. I have studied that. In fact, if you read the Charter of Royal Society of London, the biggest science body, they say it openly, clearly, which was revised in 2012. So it's very recent, saying that the purpose of science is to understand God. Einstein in New York magazine that is published from this town, a very famous New York Times magazine, wrote an article in 1942 that the most religious people are the scientists. Because how do you know we have a God? The only way, or I shouldn't say the only way, one way is to understand the creation so that you can understand the Creator. So science is a tool to understand that Creator. And this is the reason why Einstein said that scientists are the most religious people. So this division that we are creating is a very artificial, unfortunate, division. That's not what happened in history. So we have deviated from history. Yes.
Good evening, Professor Kumar, and thank you for your wonderful lecture. That point about how scientists in the medieval ages, prominent scientists like Newton or Copernicus, or in the Renaissance period, for example, were all based upon religion. Contrast that to now. At least for me, I see my peers in college to be young scientists in the making. And I'm from a science background, I'm pre-med, so I pretty much have exposure to these students who all the time take biochemistry, bio, and organic chemistry courses. And for them, when I talk about religion, oh, it's political. Sorry, we cannot have a conversation. So there's an escapism from real-time talk when it comes to talking to a scientific community who are expressing themselves by studying the sciences. And as you mentioned earlier, we study the creation to better understand the creator. Yet, we see in contrasting to the founding fathers of science, today's scientists are more on the atheistic spectrum than the ones before. Or maybe I might not have enough exposure. It could be both cases. But how would you address this issue that, or maybe not an issue, a barrier which could be overcome, where people just think so sanctimonious about themselves that, oh, science is the answer to everything. We don't need a God, and sometimes they even say it's a psychological block. How would you actually make these two ends meet, or is it even necessary to do so?
Yeah, I have say there are two thoughts that are coming to my mind. One is from the panel, somebody asked a question that we have a problem in accepting that we are Hindu, in openly saying about it. And I was laughing in my mind, and most of those people who have problem in saying that they are Hindu, when they get scared, they start chanting Hanuman Chalisa. That's the truth. So, now, to answer your question, read the literature that was produced by the top-notch scientists in the last century. Robert Millikan, a highly religious person. Einstein, religious person. Arthur Compton, very religious person. These were the people who received Nobel Prize, and they are very open about it, that they are highly religious people. And so it is the lower level people who perhaps have problem in saying that I am religious. But that division is so artificial. I have spent a good deal of time. In fact, I am very inclined to write a whole book about it. But the problem is I am one person who has to earn his bread and butter from teaching physics, because I am a physicist, and then work on the side to write these books. So that's a limitation. But I have quite seriously thought about writing a book on that. And so if right now I'm writing this book on Islamic science, showing that the whole Islamic science is coming from, a large number of things are coming from the Hindus. And if I can sell it to the Saudi Arabian, royalty, I think I can sell that, to the Western world. Interestingly, I have to share another thing, that after I published that article in the Saudi Arabian, magazine, I thought, let me share it with the Indian media. So I shared it with everybody, and I said, would you be interested in writing something about it? I'm willing to write another article. Zero response.
Shunya.
So that's the reality. And we say, oh, media is pro-Hindu. Well, this is a prime example of. Now, another thing I have to share, since I'm talking about it. My book, Science in the Medieval World, you practically go to most, good libraries in the world. That book, they will have a copy of that book. That book has done very, very well all over the world. There is not even a single copy of that book anywhere in India as of now. Only last month, Indian Institute of Technology in Gandhinagar has told me that they are buying the very first copy in the whole country. This is 25 or 30 years after its publication. And we say, and so I can also tell you, if you have time to listen to my stories, I decided to give a free copy to my friends who are historians of science in India. that, okay, I'm giving you a book, put a copy in the library. Their reply was, this book is too toxic. We cannot put it in the library. I said, what is so toxic about it? Oh, it puts India number 1. This is our mindset right now in this century in India. So, you just live with that.
Maybe one last question.
So I want to ask you, you mentioned there are millions of manuscripts in India that are waiting to be read. So where are these manuscripts kept? And also in connection with that, we hear of a lot of our manuscripts burnt during the invasions and the great universities of those eras. What fraction of manuscripts do still exist from sometime, anytime prior?
So there are 2 questions. First question is, you said there are like 30 million manuscripts out there. So, what, if I'm summarizing this correctly, what's happening with them? What is the current status of this thing, right? So that's the first question. The second question is, if we have 30 million and we had all these other ones, they got burned, like what's the, what happened to them, or
What fraction
what fraction are remaining
We hear a
now?
lot about universities being burnt and
Yeah.
content being lost. What fraction remains?
Yeah,
do you think?
see, the second question, you have answered it from your first question. If we don't even know what is in that manuscript, how can we figure out how many of them are there, from the olden period? We do not know. So we have done a very lousy job. Now, talking about those manuscripts, they are dying because they are decaying. And we have to do something about it soon, or they will disappear. Now, I'm going to give you one example that tells you, the necessity of doing something about that. We take so much pride in Chanakya Niti. How long do we know about Chanakya? Only from the last 150 years, because we found a manuscript. Chanakya was forgotten before that. There are God knows how many similar manuscripts. They are just decaying right now. See, all disciplines, they prosper if we attract the very best minds to that discipline. In India, we have not done that, and that is the reason we are suffering. So, right now, I basically tell everybody that, as long as you can cover my expenses, I'm there. The reason, because I want the next generation to do something about it, or it will be too late.
So are these with the Archaeological Survey of India or with temples?
Oh, they are everywhere. They are in the libraries. They are with the Maharajas. In fact, quite a bit, and they are with the national libraries. But nobody is reading those. Yes, Michelle.
Read on the information that there's about 15 years before there was a new department, Manuscript Survey of India. What they are doing, they are collecting whatever they can. Otherwise, they are just recognizing where they are. Like in my university, there are some manuscripts. So they have sent the chemicals and the people to make some preservative, some things. And then they are marking that this is the manuscript, this is the picture, this is the film, and it is in Vikram University Uchen. So there is a department in New Delhi, big building, and they are doing a lot of work. How much it is going to be useful for society? That is the question.
What's interesting, which is something I found out, was Hindus, Indians are not doing as much. But there are a lot of universities in America who are sponsoring professors to go to India and read these ancient manuscripts. Of course, the challenge that we face is that they go and find satis, they go find this atrocity literature, what you would call. That's the unfortunate part. There are professors who find very valuable information, but a lot of them, when they go there, they go with a preconceived agenda. That okay, I need my data. I need to prove that there was ancient rapists in the form of like Sanskrit Brahmins or something like that. Some weird stuff goes on, and then they bring back saying, look, I found this manuscript,
Yeah.
these 3 words out of the 3 million words talk about this horrific idea, and let me bring it back and make a research paper out of it. So that's unfortunately the other situation that we're facing. So I think we need folks like Professor Alok, Kumar, and others to go there and go through the initiative and find these manuscripts, work with the government, work with like-minded Hindu organizations, and bring these back to life in a sense, and preserve them for generations like ours, so that we can value them. We talk about yoga, and we only know like the Yoga Sutra of Patanjali. I found out recently, just the Agama Shastras have more than 200 of such sutras. I was shocked. I'm like, people just talk about Yoga Sutras, but there's like this whole body of or universe of yoga systems which we never talk about. So things like these are like the crown jewels that we should preserve. So I really want to thank Professor Alok Kumar for coming to the Drishti conference. And it's our pleasure to look forward to working with you, not just today, but for the future as well. We want to have more of you on campuses, different maybe series of lectures where you don't have 40 minutes, but you have series of 40 minutes. So thank you very much, and I want to thank everyone for joining as well. Namaste.
Thank you for inviting me. And next time, my battery will not die. Yeah, so I will know.
Sure.